Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Hoff. I am one of the vice principals at the high school. As one of the things that I've been very fortunate to work on this year is looking at how we can help our students increase their participation in our dual enrollment options that we have through our neighboring colleges and universities. Tonight's focus is specifically on Montgomery County Community College. There are several things that I think are specifically beneficial with what MontCo can offer us. To start today's presentation, we have Ms. Allie Fields, who is a representative from MontCo, who's going to be leading the most of this presentation. And then at the end, there'll be time for a Q&A, both from MontCo and then any questions that you have specifically with how this works with the high school.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So again, as Mr. Huff just said, my name is Allie Fields. I am one of the coordinators with dual enrollment here at Montgomery County Community College. So I have a little presentation to go through with you just to really kind of open your eyes to the opportunities dual enrollment at MontCo has for your student, as well as the opportunities that Cheltenham is trying to make sure that they provide for your student. So at the end, we will have some time for a Q&A. It won't take me too long for my presentation. So please feel free to ask those questions at the end, and I am going to share my screen and get started. Everyone can see my dual enrollment screen, correct? Awesome. So let's make sure we're good. Okay. Perfect. All right, so what is dual enrollment? When MontCo talks about dual enrollment, we use that as a very broad umbrella term. So we refer to that as any high school student who is taking college level courses. You may have heard the phrase dual credit before. That would be where the student is getting high school credit and college credit. So that's a realm of dual enrollment, but overall, it is the umbrella term that we use, dual enrollment, being a high school student taking college classes at MontCo. You'll notice that there is an age gap we kind of talk about. Most of our students are 15 years or older, so this presentation is geared towards more of those junior and seniors. However, we do offer the opportunity for students to start as early as their freshman year. We have some extra additional requirements that we take, letters of recommendation, grade reports, things like that. And then there is an approval process through academic affairs. So it's not off the table if your student's less than 15, but if they are less than 15, there is added steps. They are highly transferable credits. So your student is actually going to be taking classes through MontCo and starting to build their college transcript while they're in high school. They get that head start. There's a variety of ways that they will be able to take courses, which I will show in my upcoming slides. And then they can also take classes for a discounted rate. You might hear us refer to it as DE. So we use a lot of shorthand in the education world. So if you ever hear us talk about DE Journey or DE workshops or things like that, that DE represents dual enrollment. If your student decides to take even one class through MontCo, they could take one class, they can take upwards of 3 to 4 classes per semester if they wanted. If they take just one class, they're going to be a college student. They're going to have all of the added benefits that a MontCo traditional student would have. So that includes they're going to be able to take advantage of academic advising. How that usually works with dual enrollment students is we ask that they reach out to the dual enrollment team first. We kind of help guide them with what they need. And then we can also show them how to navigate their starfish to be able to connect with advisors. We have disability services as well. IEPs and 504s do not transfer over to the college level, but students are able to connect and do an intake survey through their starfish that they will then submit documentation and they will schedule a meeting with our disability services. So if they are looking for any sort of accommodations, they need more time on a test, things like that, they'll be able to reach out to disability services. And also our tutoring. I love to talk about our tutoring opportunities. If your student is taking an English class with us, they're able to get extra tutoring in English. They're able to get their papers evaluated and read over. You can submit your paper to get grammatical errors corrected, to make sure it's in APA format, MLA format. And we use a platform called BrainFuse. So students are able, through their MontCo Connect, to log in. and they can actually do online or in-person tutoring sessions. We also offer one-on-one tutoring as well as group tutoring. So there's a lot of variety. Let's say your student's taking a math class. We offer 24/7 tutoring online. So maybe they're having a really late night. It's 10 o'clock at night. Not saying they should wait till the last minute, but maybe they are working on homework late at night. They're able to then go onto this platform and get some extra tutoring help as well. Library access. So we have libraries at Pottstown's campus and Bluebell's campus. They're able to utilize both. I know you're closer to Bluebell, but if they, for some reason, were on the other side of the county visiting for the day, they would be able to utilize those services as well. So they have all of the databases, books, and articles, as well as study spaces, and then the library help as well. Our online platform, MontCo Connect, that's what's going to allow them to take care of their payments, check their schedule, their Canvas, things like that, but also look at all the clubs and organizations that are going on, the student events that happen on campus. So if there's a spring fling or there's something really fun going on, they're able to participate for free being a student. One of the other things that dual enrollment students are able to participate in is our esports team. So our esports team has over 75 student athletes who participate on 5 or 6 games. And we've actually had dual enrollment students in the past who have tried out for the esports team. So they've gone to high school and then they take some classes at MontCo and they do the esports on the side as well. So that's a really fun opportunity for your students. We have mental health support services. So we go through what's called Timely Care. So that's an online service as well. And then we also have a wellness center with a wellness staff at each campus. So they're able to stop in to schedule a meeting to talk with someone in person, or again, 24/7 access by being a student into our Timely Care. And then lastly, fitness gym memberships. If they're ever close enough or they want to come over on a Saturday, they're able to come over and utilize the gym as well. That's part of the included benefits of being a student here at MontCo. Some of our options. So for our students here at Cheltenham, we offer either in-person or online options. So the in-person, we have day, evening, and summer courses available. So that would depend on making sure they talk with their high school guidance counselors, working out that schedule. I kind of have a slide further down that talks more about that. And then we also offer online options. So our online options, our 2 primary online options are going to be asynchronous. That means that a class is completely online. Your student is, if they're taking an English class online, they do not have to log in at a certain time each week for the lecture. It will be completely through their Canvas shell. So all of the assignments, essays that they do, discussion boards, things like that will happen through their Canvas shell, and it's usually opened on a weekly basis, meaning that they'll do all of their group projects, their assignments, their tests, their quizzes, their reading chapters for a week. Then that will close, so they'll have to submit that before the deadline, and then the following week will open that following Sunday or Monday. We also offer synchronous. So this means that your student would take a class and they can take it from their computer anywhere that they are able to, but they would hop online at certain times of the week to listen to the lecture. So the teacher would actually be lecturing through Zoom, and it would be maybe twice a week or 3 times a week, depending on how often that class runs. They would log in from 9 in the morning to 10 in the morning. They would listen to their Zoom lecture, and then everything else would be on the computer. So this is a great option for students who maybe have time that can build in a study hall into their day, where maybe you can sit in on your lecture during that study hall time, and then everything else is done electronically. So that way you don't have to go to campus, but you're still getting that instruction. Our dual enrollment students are going to take classes mixed in with our traditional students. So we don't offer classes that are just dual enrollment at the college. So your student is going to be sitting in with other dual enrollment students, with traditional 19-year-old students. We are a community college, so we do have some classes that have 60, 70-year-olds. We have senior registration. So that's a great opportunity as well. We're kind of inclusive to all. So your students will sit in class with all other students. And then they're also able to take, this is what's really great about dual enrollment. Your students are able to take anything that does not require a prerequisite. So FYE, our first year experience, is a great course that we usually recommend students start with. But our history classes, some of our psychology classes, sociology, things like that that do not require prerequisites, your student would be able to register and take that class. If there's a course they're looking to take a class that has a prerequisite, English 101, for instance, has prerequisites. We would then require a copy of their most current transcript. It can be official or unofficial, meaning if they're able to access their student account or student portal and print off a copy and send that to us, that's fine, or it can come directly from the guidance counselor. What we do is we use that, and I say we, not meaning me, but there is a team that evaluates and reviews those transcripts. And basically, it's a holistic way. We don't offer placement testing, so it's a holistic way to advise. So we would basically look at your students' English grades, usually requiring at least 2 years of high school English, and then there would be certain grades they'd have to have. If they meet all that criteria, they would maybe meet the prerequisites to take English 101. So when in doubt, it's always a good idea to send the most current transcript to us so that way we can upload that to their file. If they ever have any questions, we can just pull that up if we're in the middle of a conversation. So just to kind of give you an idea of what our academic calendar looks like, posting this because I really want you to see that there are a lot of options and opportunities for your student to build in one course, more than one course per semester if they're interested. So our summer session is coming up, and dual enrollment students, as I said earlier, are able to get that discount for summer courses. Your student is coded in our system as a dual enrollment student until the summer after they graduate high school. So if you have a senior this year who's graduating this June, they are still able to apply as a dual enrollment student. It is free to apply, and they are able to register and take courses over the summer at that discounted rate if they wanted. Starting the fall, so this year, the 27th, your student will actually, the dual enrollment would be closed, and then they would become a traditional student if they graduated in June. So that's a really great benefit. We have a lot of students who take advantage of that, whether they're coming to MontCo or they're going to take that class, one extra class for a discounted rate on their transcript, and then they're going to go right into their 4-year. Our summer session is broken up into 4 different sessions. So you'll notice that they are shorter. We offer a 14-week. We usually do not recommend this one to students. We do know students want to enjoy their summers, and this also overlaps a lot with their finals time. Same with that 6-week one. If there is a course they absolutely have to take, if it is online asynchronously, that usually won't affect too much if they are doing a lot of final things at the end of May for their high school. But we also offer a 10-week and a 6-week too. So those are a lot of different options for your student to get an extra class in, more if they are interested. And then for our fall semester and our spring semesters, we offer a traditional 15-week format. So depending on the format of the class, some classes are offered 3 days a week. Some classes are offered 2 days a week. And then every so often you'll find a class that's offered maybe once a week, maybe for 4 hours. So the more times it's offered through the week, the less each class will be. And then the less times it's offered, the longer that class will be for that one time. But that is another option as well, 15-week. And then we have the 7-week and the 7-week one and 7-week two. So we have students who might take a full 15-week course. That's going to be a regular paced course. And then we have students who will do the 7-week one or the 7-week two. It's going to be accelerated. It's the same amount of material in a very short period of time. But this does work well for some student schedules. If your student has a lot going on or starts a fall or a winter sport, maybe a 7-week one in the beginning of the fall would be better. That way that's less they have to worry about when they transition into their winter sport. Same when they're coming out of that winter sport, maybe it's better for them to do a 7-week two in the spring. That way it's not overlapping with their workouts and their schedule and their travel. So that's an option as well. If you need to look up, I know I hyperlinked this, but if you ever need to look anything up, if you go to mc3.edu, we have a search bar in the upper right-hand corner. You can search academic calendar and you'll be able to click into that. I love the search bar. It's the best thing. All right, so just to kind of talk about some of those options that might be potentials for your student attending Cheltenham. So we have the 1 to 2 courses. So this would clearly depend on what classes your student has on their high school schedule. And this is why it's really important to make sure that your student is having that conversation with their guidance counselor. We are not privy to how each school operates their schedules, what each student's schedule is throughout the day. So if your student fills out a registration form for a class that is at 9 in the morning, we're usually just pushing that through and processing that because we believe they've had that conversation with their school. They either have, senior privilege of some sort, maybe they have late arrival, and they've already worked that out. So definitely make sure your student has that conversation with their guidance counselor. Typically, these 1 to 2 courses will be virtual, but that doesn't mean they can't be in person. We do offer a lot after school as well. So if there's not an opportunity with your student to leave during the traditional school day, there are afternoon and evening classes as well that can be done in addition to their high school classes. So again, late start, early dismissal could be a great option for this. And then you would be able to have a class eliminated from your day, so from their school day, and potentially work in the library or cafeteria for your classes. So this is a great option that is afforded to your students. If they're looking to do more than 1 to 2 courses per semester, they can do 3 courses. This might be a mixture of courses that are virtual and in person at the Bluebell campus. So we would want to make sure when they're registering that we register for classes and check the schedule for Bluebell. Sometimes students won't double check that it's Pottstown versus Bluebell. So we definitely want to make sure it's at Bluebell. These are often the only courses that your student might have to take. And then for seniors, and then also if your student is a senior, sorry, I just got myself lost. So you would only be needed at the high school for senior mandated activities if your student's on track to graduate. So your student could basically talk to their guidance counselor, say, hey, I'm looking to take these 3 courses. Can we build this out? What does this look like? Guidance counselor might say, I think that's a great idea. And then you're only needed for anything that's mandated from the high school to be in the building. If you are an underclassman, or not you, your student is an underclassman, you'll just need to take at least 1 credit at the high school. So you're still in that high school, you're still participating throughout the day, but you're also able to take those classes. If your student's looking for 4 or more classes, they will also need to reach out to us. In addition to talking with their guidance counselor, we have what we call course overload. Traditionally, our dual enrollment students are approved for up to 9 credits per semester. So the entire summer would be 9 credits. So they might be able to break it up between 6-week 1, 10-week, and 6-week 2. Same with the fall and spring, the 15-week, 7-week 1, and 7-week 2. Between the 3 of them, they can take up to 9 credits. If your student is looking to take more than that, not a problem. We do have, again, some added approvals on our end that we request. So it's always better if they connect with us and they're like, hey, I'm looking to take these 4 classes. I worked it out with my high school. Does this work? Can we make this work? Is this a good idea? Usually we'll just confirm what they're interested in potentially studying. If we're able to connect them with an advisor, we'll connect them with an advisor and then really help them kind of get situated with what those 4 classes will be. For your student, this could be a mixture of virtual and in person. Again, depending on what's available, we typically see students who take 4 classes. We usually see them take 1 to 2 in person and then 1 to 2 virtual. So really it's based off of extracurriculars, what your student has going on, and the time that they're going to be able to take to get to and from campus. Those students who are taking 2 in person, Hatboro Horsham, for instance, we have a lot of students who will take their 2 classes on the same day. So they'll try to find classes that are offered Mondays and Wednesdays. They'll take a class from 8 in the morning to 9:10, and then take another class from 9:20 to 10:55, whatever that time is. So they'll do back-to-back 2 days a week. And then the other 2 courses are online. And then that way they can build in if they have time to go to the library or they want to do work during the other parts of the day. As long as your students' courses align with their graduation plan, because remember, first and foremost, they are high school students. They need to make sure they are getting those graduation requirements. They will not need to be at Cheltenham's campus, except for, again, the mandated activities. So we have a lot of high schools who are looking to take advantage of this opportunity. Some high schools, by the time a senior is in the spring of their senior year, they have met all of the requirements for graduation. And the high school will say, hey, you're allowed to go full-time at MontCo. So we'll get students who are taking those 4 to 5 classes as a full-time MontCo student to basically get a head start. And they're not needed in the high school at all times. So it's a really good balance for those students. Let's talk about the cost. This is where we usually get a lot of parents really interested. So our dual enrollment students currently pay what we call a 1 credit discounted tuition rate. So what that means is it is a third of the cost of a traditional college student's tuition. That cost for this summer, if your student is interested and wanted to start this summer, would be $223 per class. That means that a traditional student is going to pay 3 times that for their tuition. So it is a really big cost saving opportunity. That's why we have a lot of students take advantage of the courses and really start to build out that transcript. In the fall, it will be going up to $230 per class, and that's going to be a 3 to 4 credit class. So if they're taking a 3 credit, $230. If they're taking their 4 credit, which is usually the sciences, the biologies, the labs, still going to be $230 per class. Some courses will have additional fees, and on the course catalog, you'll actually see a little icon that will show additional fees. So that $230 is just the tuition. If they are doing a lab or they're doing art class or things like that, there will be added fees. And then up-to-date grant opportunities, you can always visit our homepage for dual enrollment, mc3.edu/de. We don't always have grants, but every once in a while, our grant writers are able to find something, and sometimes we do have those opportunities. So if it is cost that is stopping your students from wanting to take those courses, please make sure they at least reach out. We can see if we have any grants that either cover all of the tuition or maybe cover their books and their materials for that class. Again, no guarantee, but always worth a chance to reach out. So the possibilities of dual enrollment, we have what we call class by class. So this might be your students just looking to take that 1 to 2 classes per school year. Maybe they're trying to figure out what they're interested in. Maybe they're just trying to get 1 or 2 classes knocked out before they go to a 4-year or their school. So this is kind of what we call like that a la carte, where a student is kind of exploring and not really interested in like how many credits can I get, and this is the pathway and this is what I definitely want to study. This is a very big popular option for our students, as well as our 2+1+2. So for any junior and senior parents on this call, the 2+1+2 is a great opportunity for your students. What this means is that over the junior and senior year of your student's high school career, they have the potential to take MontCo classes and earn up to 30 credits over the 2 years. That 30 credits is equivalent to 1 year of their associates. So that's where that first 2 comes from. That second number, the 1, would mean that after they take those 2 years of classes as a high school student, as a dual enrollment student, they would then matriculate into MontCo, and they would take 1 year to finish their associate's degree. After that 1 year, once they get that associate's degree, they can then seamlessly transfer in as junior status to a 4-year institution. If that is something of interest, please reach out to us, have your student reach out to us. When your student gets their associate's degree, there are a lot more doors and opportunities opened to them to transfer into those 4-year partner schools. So if your student is looking to do education, they can start that 2+1. They finish at MontCo and they get that associate's, and that can a lot of times propel them into automatic acceptance as a junior into schools such as Westchester, Kutztown, things like that, where they're going to stay on track on that education pathway. If they don't get the associates, there's no guarantee they'll be admitted into that program, and they might not get all of their credits transferred. So they are highly transferable credits. But when you get that associates, it's just a little added bonus. So that's a really popular option as well, especially for those junior and senior parents, trying to work towards that 30 credits or, how many credits can we get before we graduate high school? And then remember, they get the summer after they graduate high school for those dual enrollment credits as well. The last option is our dual degree. So this is going to be more geared towards any parents on here who are freshman or sophomore students. So this is where a student will really go to town and work hard, and they are planning to get their entire associate's degree before they graduate high school. We don't have a ton of students, but the interest is slowly gaining. Last spring, we had 5 to 6 students, high school students, who graduated with their associate's degree 2 weeks before they graduated with their high school diploma. So while it's not the most popular option, there are students who are interested in this, and this is really geared towards freshmen and sophomores because that does allow them time to get all those credits that they need to get between all their summers and their traditional semesters. Time to enroll for dual enrollment. If your student is interested, we have a landing page. It is mc3.edu/DE. What is great about that is we try to keep updated with, we have a frequently asked questions page. We have our dual enrollment orientation page. We also have a resources page. And this is where your student's going to go to fill out their application and to fill out their registration form for taking classes. So it's very simple. Step 1, they need to create an account and submit an application if they have not done so. If your student has done so, has taken a class, and they have an ID, they don't start with step 1, they'd start with step 2. Step 1 is really simple. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes between creating an account and submitting the entire application. So they'll need their social security number, different information like that. So it's a great thing for you to sit down with your students, kind of walk them through, help them if they have any questions, let them take the reins and complete that 15 to 20 minutes of their time. They click submit, and in 1 to 2 days, they'll get their student ID number. When they get this student ID number, they are actually able to go to step 2 and register for class. Again, depending on what they're looking to take, they might need to submit a transcript, but they'd be able to go to the course catalog and look up what courses. They can always reach out to the dual enrollment team as well, and we can kind of walk them through. This says for at your high school or at MontCo, please disregard the at your high school. Your option for your students are at MontCo. So on the registration page, there'll be 2 different registration forms. Your student's going to want to click the one for courses at MontCo or online. They will go through and they will fill out that registration form, and then there'll be a parent information section at the bottom. They will input a parent information, parent, guardian, mom or dad, it doesn't matter, email and a phone number. And once they submit their registration form, then step 3 is on the parent. You'll want to check your email for a parent release, electronic parent release form. It'll come from Montgomery County Community College. Sometimes goes to spam, so you would check spam or your inbox folder. Usually comes within the day. Sometimes it's a little lagging, sometimes it's right away. I don't know why IT does that. So we always tell you to give it at least 24 hours to try to receive it, and if not, you can reach out to us. You'll basically sign off, and this is acknowledging your student's FERPA, acknowledging that they are taking a college level class. There is a fee associated with it, and you are basically saying, I am okay with all of this. And then you'll sign off when that is submitted. Once we receive the registration form and the parent release form, now that actually goes into our queue to get processed. So all registration forms for dual enrollment students are actually manually processed. Why? We need to make sure that they meet all the prerequisites. We need to make sure that it's a course that works if they're looking to do a certain, program, things like that. They're wanting to build up. We want to make sure they're kind of on track. And then that way we can reach out to them if there's any issues. So when they submit it, it's not going to be instantaneous. Our team actually has to go in and manually process that. They're going to want to keep an eye on their MC3 email. Once it's processed, they'll get a registered, not registered, and waitlisted. So waitlisted means that there's not enough seats right now. There's no seats available, but your student could be number 1 on the wait list. So if a person drops out of the class, they would then be offered that seat. Not registered usually means your student doesn't meet the prerequisites. And then registered, of course, would mean that student is all set. If they are registered, they'll be able to check their MontCo Connect, their Canvas shell for their course information. So how do we support your students' next steps? Your student is able to enroll at MontCo, so kind of similar to that 2+1+2 mentality. They'd be able to finish their associate's degree and save up to $30,000. I think this number is probably higher by now. This slide information is a couple years old, and we do know how costly college is, especially if you're looking at traditional four-year versus private colleges. So I like to say that you're probably going to save more than the 30,000, especially if your student's trying to take some dual enrollment classes and really kind of get that 2+1 mentality. They're going to save a lot more. So they can enroll at MontCo right after, which is great because again, they can get that associate's degree, transfer seamlessly into a program that they're looking to go into as a junior status, or they can go right into their four-year institution. We have a lot of students who do that as well. That is not a problem. By your student taking classes at MontCo through dual enrollment, it does not mandate they have to come to MontCo for school after they graduate. We would love that. But we also know that some students are going to want to take some classes to lighten their load that first year when they go to their four-year. That is okay. Our next option would be a MontCo guest student. So what's really great about this is your student already has an ID in the system from being dual enrollment. So they would actually be able to fill out what we call a guest student application. Most of that information is going to be auto-populated because they've already done an application. And a guest student is a student who has gone to a four-year institution. So your student just graduates this June. They're going to go to Westchester. They go to Westchester in the fall, and then they find out they have to take anatomy and physiology as part of their program. And they talk with their guide, their advisor at Westchester and say, I'm going to go home for the summer and I'm going to work from home and live at home, save some money. But is there any way I can take this course at MontCo? The advisor will look into it. If they say yes, you can be a guest student next summer, let's say. And you can then register as a guest student, take that class. It'll be a traditional student rate for in-county. But instead of that class really being a grade, it's basically going to be a pass-fail. If you pass that class, Westchester accepts that for your degree program. It doesn't affect your GPA at all. But a lot of students will do this avenue if they have heard that there's a really hard teacher for a certain subject. Again, traveling home. I went to school in Maryland. I took classes as a guest student at my community college in New Jersey. So it allows that opportunity where you're saving some money and kind of working that into your schedule for the 4 years. So that's an option as well. There's really a lot of options for dual enrollment students. As I talked before, highly transferable credits. So these are the schools in Pennsylvania who highly transferable for credits. 9 times out of 10, they're going to take the credits without an issue. Whether it's a direct transfer, meaning English 101 transfers to English 101, is completely up to the school. Some schools will say, hey, we're going to accept your English 101 as a direct transfer, and other schools will say, we're going to place that in an elective, and you still have to take our version of English. Regardless, that would still be 3 less classes or 3 less credits your student would have to take. If your student's school is not on this list, it does not mean that the credits are not going to transfer. We have had dual enrollment students go down to all of the southern states, Florida, Mississippi, Virginia, Texas. I had a student last spring who actually got admitted into Harvard, and 24 dual enrollment credits transferred into Harvard. So it's always good to reach out to the school if your student is kind of doing their college search and has that top 3 to 5 schools. They can reach out to us as well. There are like transfer calculators, things like that, and we can ask the advisors to kind of help guide in what schools are more apt to maybe accept those credits. For the most part, our students don't have issue in transferring their credits, but we do have that occasional, I know, Christopher Newport didn't accept a student's all of their credits. They only accepted 3/4 of them. So there is that potential, but if your student knows where they're kind of looking to go, definitely have them start doing research on their end for that school, as well as reaching out to us to see if we can kind of bridge that gap and see if those credits will transfer. And then lastly, we do have our landing page, mc3.edu/DE. That is our short link. It's going to take you to our dual enrollment homepage. And then if you have any questions, your student or you can feel free to email our email at dualenrollment@mc3.edu. We do have a team, so it's not just me, and we usually are able to monitor that email Monday through Friday, normal business hours. We are kind of seeing a little bit higher volume right now. There are certain times of the year where that does happen. So our out of office is up right now. It doesn't mean we won't respond. It usually just means instead of responding in an hour, we might respond by the end of the day. We do try to make sure it is quick. But again, it is Monday through Friday. And any questions you have, if you ever want to set up a one-on-one, a time to meet, to go over things like that, we can always do that. And you're more than welcome to email that email. So with that, I will stop sharing. And I will take any questions. I see there is one in the chat. So are there bridge programs to the larger universities like Temple, Penn State? By bridge programs, Abraham, do you mean like dual admissions type things where they're kind of like I just explained, where they're guaranteed to get into the programs?
Yes.
We do. So it is a little tricky for dual enrollment students. So MontCo has what we call dual admissions, and dual admissions is different from dual enrollment. Dual admissions means that a student comes to MontCo and it's only for traditional students because they have to be degree seeking. And right now, dual enrollment students cannot declare a major. But dual admissions would be where they have less than 30 credits and they can work out to transfer in seamlessly. Our kind of opposite side of the coin to that for dual enrollment students is really trying to get them to understand that 2+1 mentality, or just getting as many credits as you want dual enrollment wise and getting that associates from MontCo. That associates is going to allow them to then transfer into those programs. Drexel and Temple are huge programs for us that we transfer students into. And I think Drexel even has like some of their own scholarships for like MontCo students. So it's always good to double check with those schools. Your student can also reach out to us, and if all of these schools listed are their top 3 to 5, we can help them connect and find out what their options are. But for dual enrollment students, the best option is going to be considering getting your entire associates at MontCo. That's really going to open that door to seamlessly transfer into those programs. I will tell you, Penn State main campus is probably the only Penn State, we have Penn State Abington, Penn State Berks, things like that, but Penn State main campus is very stingy across the board because some of their programs are so prestigious. So we have had students who are wanting to do engineering with us, and we usually don't guide them to do too much engineering type courses because they're going to have to redo all of them in Penn State's fashion at main campus. I believe if they finish their associates with us, they wouldn't be able to go to Penn State, Maine, but you'd have to double check what the rules are of the Penn State system. I'm not super familiar with that. But does that help answer your question a little bit, Abraham?
It does. It does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The,
Tina, is there transportation available for students in the fall and thereafter?
so I'm going to handle that one. And Dean, if you can put your question in the chat, and everybody else has questions, you can put in the chat. So right now we don't have an official transportation mechanism. We have one that we can have a conversation on a one-to-one basis if your student needs it, and it would involve SEPTA. We are in the process of looking at student interest and seeing what we can manage to do in terms of talking to students about picking 2 in-person classes on like a Monday and a Wednesday and being able to provide transportation that would get students up there for like the 10 o'clock class and then get them, back to the Cheltenham area in that 2:30 to 3 range and allowing them to take 2 classes. That we are not in a position at the moment to say, yes, we're going to do that in the fall. But that is something we are working towards. So if your student is a senior, I do apologize. That's probably not going to be locked in, but it is a goal that we have as we see how students, move towards this type of programming.
Now I was concerned because my granddaughter will be a sophomore in the fall. So it's not like she's driving or anything. So that's why I was wondering if there was any availability for transportation.
For this coming fall, the answer is at the moment is going to be no, but it is something we are actively looking in as we try to figure out how to best support our students moving in this direction.
Okay, thank you.
Um, Elisa said, my son is a 10th grader this year. Are there summer classes? That's a great question. There are summer classes. I see here that he is interested in nursing. Nursing is a beast of its own. We always encourage students, if they're interested in the health sciences, reach out to us. Make sure you tell us that, because nursing is there's a particular format in which they run their classes. So our nursing is not going to be the typical 2-year nursing program for an associate's. It's going to be more of 2.5 to 3 years minimum. And they have it set up how, like, cohorts. So you're taking this class in the fall, it's only offered in the fall. This is only offered in the spring. It is possible to get a couple of classes done as a dual enrollment student. The ability to get more than, I would say, a third of the nursing degree done before graduating high school is not going to be realistic. So there are classes available. We can always, if you want to have your son email us, we can kind of look to see what things are required for nursing. Maybe if FYE is required, that's a really good start. A lot of times it meets a technology fluency for our majors. So he could take that FYE to start in the summer. And then if he reaches out to us, we can kind of connect him with the steps he needs to take. There are steps he needs to take in order to be able to talk to an advisor if you're in nursing. So there's information sessions he has to attend and sign off on before we're even able to put him with an advisor. So definitely have him reach out. There should be a class that we can definitely see what's available this summer.
So
Uh,
I'll handle the next two, Allie.
all right.
Dean, in terms of how do dual enrollment grades factor into high school GPA, any course that is a 100 or 200 level course, which are the ones that are available through MontCo, will transfer as an AP class would in the unweighted, in the weighted GPA. So we will treat it with the AP credit bump. GPA bump with the credit, just as if it was an AP course. And then, hi, Terry. Where do we find a list of the courses available at MontCo? So if you go on to the course catalog, which, Allie, if you want to drop a link in the chat, basically, the 100 and 200 level courses, if they have no prereqs, those are your first ones to look at. And then Allie said that the prereqs can be reviewed. Something else to consider, as I've been talking to students over the last several months, popular ones that I've been talking about are Poli-Sci 124, which aligns perfectly with the government graduation requirement. I've talked to students about English 101, which is a course we would substitute for one of the required English classes. It's really kind of a conversation between the student and the guidance counselor in terms of, what are you trying to achieve through this experience? One of the things that, as I've been looking at this over the last few months and talking to people at the high school and talking to people at MontCo, goes back to that transportation piece of we do want to get to the point where we're encouraging more and more students to be at the MontCo campus. It gives a more authentic college experience, though those of us who I know, where I'm sitting at and doing college 20 years ago, thinking of that virtual as something that, well, that's just weird. I mean, the reality is at this point that virtual class is a cornerstone of part of a lot of programs. So that is, also an authentic thing. But yes, we do want to provide opportunities, whether it's late arrival or early release to allow students to get there. We understand that there is a distance between Cheltenham and Bluebell. And so those are the type of things that we're working on, because we definitely want to encourage our students to have more and more of those in-person experiences.
You want to take the next one from Tina?
Yes, I just saw that. Yes, because we, just as with AP courses, we reimburse the exam fee for one exam fee a year. We also reimburse both MontCo and any other dual enrollment course at the MontCo rate. So if a student receives a C or better in the course, we will reimburse one dual enrollment course at the prevailing MontCo rate per year.
And if I can add to that for all of you, in case you're wondering, like, what would be the benefit of doing dual enrollment versus AP? Of course, I'm going to be biased, so you don't want to ask me, but we do get asked that a lot. Hey, my student's going to take an AP course. What is the difference? Does it matter? So with AP, students are going to sit in that class the entire year, and whether they receive that college credit or not is going to basically come down to that one AP exam they're going to take. They have to score 3 or higher on that AP exam to get that college credit. Every school is going to be different. So some schools that are maybe more prestigious, maybe there's a lot of scholarship opportunity available. They might say, hey, we want you to take the AP and get a 5 or get a score of a 4, and we're going to offer you this much money. Dual enrollment, they're going to have that 7-week or 15-week or 10-week span where they are earning that grade. So for me, I'm not a great test taker, and I was never a great test taker. I bombed my SATs, my PSATs, my GREs, everything you can imagine education-wise. I was not the greatest at it. I know I'm a great student, but the idea of having my entire existence fall on one singular test wasn't for me. But that doesn't mean it's not for another student. So for me, the idea of being able to take a class over a 15-week span and put in the time to do my homework, my tests, my quizzes, I'm learning things as I go. I'm going to get that grade and I'm building that grade as I go. That works out better for me. So if you're interested in a particular school, check with your guidance counselor to see if that school is going to be more preferential to the AP or the dual enrollment. So they are a little bit different in the ways that you can earn that college credit.
Yes. So, Terry, if you look at the course catalog, you'll see both summer, you'll see fall. Talking about the summer, I had a conversation with a parent and a student today about, they're going to be senior, and the question was, what do we feel that success is going to be for the student? And so we kind of left the room saying, well, maybe we should we don't anticipate that student's going to have that difficult of an end of this spring semester. So the question was, Allie said, avoid summer 1 so that you can, do summer 2 because you got all the stuff that ends at, the end of the school year. For this student, we were actually talking about summer 1 because, it would give the student the opportunity to give that virtual try in the half semester format instead of the full semester format in terms of time, and provide the experience for the student to say, is this something we want to explore more for next year, and go back and try to revise the schedule as it's going to get built, or we have the experience, it's not a great experience, and we would rather have the student full-time at Cheltenham High School on campus their senior year. And so the family is thinking through that right now to see whether they want to give that a try. Dean, that is an interesting question. If a dual enrollment course doesn't align with my academic goals or GPA strategy, do I have the choice to keep it off my high school transcript? Well, if you don't report it to us, it probably depends on what we're counting it for, because remember, you do need 28 credits to graduate from Cheltenham High School, so we need to account for that. I will have to get back to you on a more specific answer for that, because I see where you're going, and I'm not 100% sure. Understood, Dean. Yeah, I don't, if you're going to count it as part of the 28 credits you need for graduation, the answer is it absolutely has to appear. Whether it's one that's not, I need to talk to my team to give you a better answer. Yeah, I got you, Dean.
A lot of great questions, all. And again, I'll drop our email in here as well. So if you do think of something, I know a lot of times once a presentation is done, I have the tendency to say, oh, I should have asked this. If you do have any questions or you talk with your students about this, please feel free to reach out to us. Make sure I put that in right, at our dual enrollment at mc3.edu. Your student can go to mc3.edu/DE and start their application. Any issues with that, reach out, and then we would love to connect one-on-one, and look towards building this out where hopefully Cheltenham can work on some transportation. We can then work on realistically then offering certain classes maybe at certain times that work for your students. This can really be built out to be a really, really great opportunity for your students at Cheltenham. And not every school has that ability to work it out where your students could potentially bus to campus, which I think is a great opportunity. So thank you all so much for listening.
I'll stay on for a few more minutes, but I'm going to end the recording right now.